to improve the relations. And now suddenly he's using Russia as a justification for more nukes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, anyway, welcome back to The Fuck Happened with the weekly reviews on the Greene Fyre Review. Weekly headlines on the Greene Fyre Review with, of course, the articulate and the insightful Della Piana, and of course Harshman. So, and now I think third time's a charm here. So, what else do you think about the whole Russia Trump thing? Because personally, I just think this is history repeating itself. You know.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's you know, it's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like for political expediency to bring back the Cold War. You have to wonder if somewhere in their twisted minds, how can they not see that this is not a good idea? Like, I mean, these people run the country. If they can't see this isn't a good idea, you know, why bother? I don't even understand. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, it is a stupid. I mean, to people like us, it's the stupidest thing you've ever seen. The problem is, we're taking this from the, you know, these people, these imbeciles are being paid millions upon billions of dollars to cause chaos and make bad decisions. So right. What happens? So what's the deal? Well, of course they're gonna escalate war. Of course they're gonna impoverish the 99%. Of course they're gonna build up their nukes. Of course they're gonna escalate tensions in the Middle East whenever they get the chance. That's just how it is. I mean, the real thing is, how do we go after this? I
don't understand how it's so difficult to get people to think about a real anti-war movement in this country. And I think I think it's critical. I think the big, I thought the whole Women's March was a joke to begin with, but to not have imperialism and war a part of that, I don't know how anybody can be looking at where we are in this country and what we're doing across the world and not have an anti-war movement. And as my friend Amy, we need solutions. We're not going to get solutions from these people. That's no. My point. My point is the only people that are going to drive solutions are going to be the people, because the people that are in office now they're following somebody else's rules and regulations, and those people are not in our court.
Well, and to quote one Chris Lewis, he always says, "Where is the protest? Protest with your dollar. Don't protest. Don't just, march with the 60s activism. You got to protest with your dollar."
Right.
And he's right about that, because that's where all this crap hits the fan. All of these large corporations, they all fuel this. They all fuel it, They all fuel the war machine,
Right. Right. They do. And again, I think the whole, the CIA guys and the FBI guys going into the media. Suddenly Trump is pointing the finger at Russia, a guy that was coming in wanting to improve relations. I think it just proves that he's not in charge, that I don't know anybody in recent American history that has 3 generals in his cabinet. That just is in other countries that'd be a military junta. That's really what that is, So when you look at it and you look at a big march to celebrate the military, you have to take this outside of Trump. That's you have to take it outside of him. I don't really even think he's got the wherewithal to put all that stuff together, to be perfectly honest with you. Someone else is pulling the strings on that end.
Of course. I mean, as you said, that's why he probably has 3 generals to report to their real bosses.
Yeah.
They're there to observe and report to their real bosses, and they tell Trump what to do.
Right.
Let's be honest. I think we mentioned this before it got cut off. When Trump launches 59 missiles into Syria, he's presidential. Right. When he doesn't do that, when he talks about how we don't want war, he's incompetent. He's stupid. He's a traitor.
Right. He's weak, whatever, I just think, again, the war drums are pounding. I mean, it's amazing to me. We're in almost every country in Africa now fighting terrorism. Where does it end? It doesn't end. That's the point.
It's not going to end. It's
right.
not going to end.
Right.
I mean, we've been talking about the war on terror since we were using dial-up.
Right.
Like, we were using dial-up when that started, like dial-up and DSL.
Right.
I mean,
and again, let's not forget, this whole nuke thing is nothing new, because on his way out the door, Obama left $1 trillion budget to modernize that. So for a guy who came in saying he was going to help make the world nuclear free, he went in an entirely different direction. And what did he decommission? 389 nukes in his entire 8 years? Was that the number, or did it actually go up? I don't know, but
it might have been more. I don't know.
It wasn't significant. So
I mean, I know the only thing I know is that in his last year of in the final year of his administration, he deported more people than Trump, and he dropped 26,171 bombs.
Right. To the point where we ran out of bombs in 2016.
Right.
Which made the manufacturers very happy. So,
of course, gotta keep that money going.
Right.
That contract money, got to keep it going.
That's right. That's right. So,
which makes the next headline really remarkable.
Right.
Really remarkable.
Yeah.
The Boycott Israel movement nominated for the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, that's basically the biggest middle finger you can give to the military-industrial complex in this country.
Right. And I think it's amazing that they did that, given the current state of affairs, with the way the U.S. is tied into Israel, and with the way they're trying to pass that ridiculous law to make it a crime to even have a movement like that. I was surprised to see that myself.
Yeah, I was. I'm still stunned by that. Like, I know they probably won't win it, but if they somehow get a Nobel Peace Prize,
yep,
I think that's something we can really have a parade for. I think we can actually have a parade for that. We can have like our own parade.
Yep.
That's what we could do. I mean, I don't know. Should we have it in Chicago or Boston if that happens?
I don't know. We should have it in Chicago. Be bigger there. Who else was nominated? Do you know?
For the Peace Prize movement? I haven't even looked at it yet.
I haven't either. I haven't looked at that. Because I to be perfectly honest with you, I until they nominated BDS, I haven't paid much attention, because I'm still even nominating and giving the award to Barack Obama. So
yeah, not only did they give it to Obama, they gave it to frickin' Al Gore.
I know.
It's like, what are we supposed to make of that? I'm pretty sure George Bush got a Nobel Peace Prize at some point. I mean, the ironic part is when I did visit the Nobel Peace Prize, the building, the building where they host the event in Sweden, I was actually surprised and amazed. But now I'm looking back and I'm like, oh God, I can't believe I glorified that place. It's that's where I'm at now.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. God, it's so beautiful for that to happen, especially when you consider our next headline.
Yeah, the white helmets.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh God. You want to talk about propaganda and corporatism?
What I can't believe about the white helmets is they actually have videos that prove they're a sham, and people don't believe any of that.
They don't care to believe it. I mean, come on. This is all you need to know about the propaganda of the white helmets.
Right.
The producer created a fake documentary of them and won a Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
What is there to talk about in that aspect? You're just like, oh, Deb, how do we deal with these people?
I don't know.
How do we do it?
I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
And now they're in like where the Philippines, Afghanistan, and some of these countries now.
Yeah, and again, again, tied into the propaganda machine. You know, the military-industrial complex, the propaganda machine. You know, they're really the terrorists and the bad guys, and they get everybody believing the exact opposite. And I don't know whether people are just desensitized to all of this, but to have it right in front of you, it's almost like, you know, the police killing innocent people in the line of duty, and you've got it on video and you still can't get a conviction. You know, it's almost the same thing. You've got it right in front of you, happening right in front of you, and nobody wants to believe it.
God, it's just horrible. Like, I don't even know what to make of it at this point. It's just I don't know what even to say about it.
You know, it's almost like you need an anti-public relations campaign against those people, because they've got a really good, whoever they're using to spin their story is doing a masterful job. And I agree with Amy Snow. We are zombified. The American people are zombified.
Absolutely.
I think that's part of the problem. And I think it's unfortunate, because I also think the mainstream media has done that to people. I think that's been part of the plan too.
Yes, they have.
Yep. You know, same thing with the next one.
Yeah. Speaking of scams, philanthropy is another one of them.
Right. I'm always amazed at people who say things to me like, I had some guy say to me not too long ago, well, the reason that Bill Gates doesn't have as much money as what's his name, Jeff Bezos, is because he gives so much money to charities. I said, A, I want you to think about that as a tax write-off, and B, as a public relations.
I know, exactly. It's so like, why should we worship like billionaires who give away, you know, an unaffected part of their income?
Right.
It's not like it makes a difference for them.
Right.
Whether you have like 12 billion or 50 billion.
Right. And not only that, but we have the Gates Foundation, which essentially is spending its time rewriting our kids' school curriculum from a corporate standpoint, right? They don't have teachers involved in this. They don't have educators involved in this. You know, it's not like for giving his money away, he's not getting something in return, you know? So why people can't
they benefit from this. It's good for the art. That's what it is. And right. Jeff Bezos, to say he's better than Jeff Bezos, it's literally like, God, that's like a, you know, for lack of a better term, the tallest midget competition.
Right.
You know, that's like saying who is the heinous terrorist.
Right.
That's like comparing like Gary Sandusky and Larry Nasser. Who was less people between them?
Right. And it's to the point where it's ridiculous. It's, you know, I read a thing the other day on Zuckerberg. I was reading something, and I started reading this article about, now I hear his wife has even more money than he does. I don't know that that's true or not, because I didn't look into that. But now they have this new foundation, and it's the Chan Zuckerberg Foundation, and their plan is to eradicate all disease by the end of the 21st century. Now, first of all, that's bullshit, pardon my language, because nobody wants illnesses to go away, because Big Pharma would lose all their income that way, right? So we know that's not true. But the bottom line was, I kept reading this article, and as it turns out, while they're working on that, she came up with a new face cream to help women take years off their, you know,
of course.
You know, it's amazing. And people can't see through this, and it's amazing to me that people can't see through it. They don't want to. Yeah, I know.
They don't want to see through this.
No, and these are the same people who will go on when it comes on the TV, and they'll come on and they'll buy it. You know, they'll buy it. They'll buy that stuff.
Why people have been so worshipped in this country.
Yeah, you know what though? It's not just them. It's athletes that are wealthy. It's everybody that's got money. And honestly, the thing that you can't get people to understand is that money doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you a wealthier person. That's all it makes you.
Right. Money is like alcohol. Money's like alcohol. It doesn't change who you are. It just reveals your true self.
Right.
You know.
Right. It's very true.
Now, like even like when you hear the good stories about like the Carnegie died, Carnegie giving away all his fortune in death and all that, you're just like, well, wait a second. He was a complete self-centered, stingy prick for about the first 70+ years of his life. Why should he get ribbing?
Right.
For what? Make it trying to, some cheap PR.
Right. And honestly, he gave it away all at the end of his life. What's he gonna do with it? It's not like he can take it with him and have fun with it.
Well, what's he gonna do? Give it to his kids so they can have fun with it? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Should we move on to the next one?
Might as well. Speaking of another scam artist.
Yeah, I actually like this guy, Wilkerson. I think he's changed whatever it is. I watch his videos, and I think he knows what he's talking about. He helped craft the story about Iraq.
Yeah.
But now he's saying Iran is next, and we can't let this happen. I think a lot of people got caught up in that maybe have changed a lot of secondary players. I don't think he was a major player, but I think he was a player. But
Powell, Bush.
He's not the only one that warned about this. If you remember, General Wesley Clark there, his speech that he made. So
that was some chilling stuff.
Yeah, it was. And again, it's that whole progress for a new American century. This whole thing was all outlined in that. So this shouldn't be, what we essentially have is Donald Trump carrying out his portion of the program. These people are all, this has been in the works since before 9/11.
Oh yeah. I mean, even Wesley Clark, when he said that speech, that plan took place before the Twin Towers fell down. So
yeah,
you can fill in the blank with that one, can't you?
Yep. I mean, and again, if you look at it, they use that unrest they had in Iran. They use that from a PR perspective to make it look like, the people really want the government out, and it's amazing the way the U.S. and the UN just crafts everything that goes on in a country to fit its narrative. And, for lack of a better term, the sheep in this country buy this stuff without looking beyond the headlines. That's what part of the problem is.
All right.
I
mean, and then the worst part is, and of course, they have to have, the U.S. has to have their favorite salesman puppet in the office, whether it's like, we had to go into Libya and overthrow Gaddafi because it was the right thing to do. Or you have, his predecessors like, we got weapons of mass destruction in Iran. Nuclear. They're nuclear. They're nuclear. And a timber company.
and the biological weapons. Remember the biological labs that were on wheels that could be moved around? Remember that story? That was part of the story too. Right? We don't even have, I don't even know that we've got those, but they had them.
Yeah. Somehow they had them.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And again, this is just more of the same narrative. It's more of the justification for war. And all of it wraps up with all of these little false flag things that go around across the country too. Of course. I was here, but Boston strong. I'm sorry, folks, but there was something a little bit fishy about that one to me too. It's all part of that PR campaign to keep Americans in a mood for never-ending war. That's really what it boils down to.
I mean, thank God those guys weren't like, trained by the CIA. Otherwise, we probably would have been in another. We probably would have like invaded Kazakhstan or something.
Right.
Yeah. Or you know, or Georgia or any of those mountains. We probably would have invaded them too. You know, not Kazakhstan, but what was the? No, Chechnya. That's where they were from. Well, we probably would have invaded one of those areas had that happened.
Yep.
God, that's a scary thought. Our guy Jacob Micah says, way before they wrote the project for the NAC in like 1992.
Yep. It's been around for a long time.
Yes, it has.
Yep.
Well, I think we could talk. I think we have an uplifting story to talk about, though.
Yep, I do too.
Yep. Hundreds of thousands of industrial workers strike in Germany, and they end up winning the work-life balance dispute.
Right. And again, we're trying to get a strike going here for May Day. And, you know, there's 325 million of us, and their numbers don't come close. We don't need all 325 million people, but until we start exercising our power, we're going nowhere in this country. Until they fear us, they have to fear us. That's the situation. When people can go out in the street like that, like the women in Poland on the right stuff, 1 million women on the streets in a day. You know what?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that makes them sit up and take notice. And it scares them when the people are informed, educated, angry, and angry at them. And we have to start showing some of that.
Yeah, because it seems like the more we know, the less we care.
I agree. I think it's overwhelming for Americans. I really do. I think you know why it's overwhelming for us, I think? We've never had war here. You know, George Bush can call 9/11 war. That wasn't war. Know, that was a one-off. That wasn't a war. I don't think we've had war here. And I don't think people here believe that we do anything for nefarious reasons. I don't know why they think that. I don't know why they believe our leaders are better than other leaders. I think they live in a bubble. We live in a bubble here in America. It's almost like we live in a bubble.
And I think Greene Fyre herself, she was alluding to that. When I did an interview with her, I think a month ago, she was talking about how certain people in the media, well, actually, let me read our guy Jacob Micah says, we've never had foreign troops on our soil. Right. That's true. I don't think we've had a war, like foreign troops on our soil, at least since the 1800s, if not earlier.
And then I say, so here we are. And every time we see somebody in another country that we think is not good for their people, we invade sovereign nations, we destroy their land, we kill their leaders, we, basically make a mess. I often wonder how Americans would feel. There are so many people that don't like Donald Trump. What happens if they just decided to do that here? How would we like that?
They're starting to do, though they are trying to do that. Thankfully, it hasn't worked, but they are trying to remove Donald Trump at will. But to go back to what our favorite Greene Fyre said, she straight up said, when she had, I don't know if she worked for the Times or she knew of someone who worked for the Times, what they would do is they'd create these towns where they would have these fake bubbles of how life was like.
Right.
In like the Hamptons or some of the other elite areas. And the people there would just assume that's how their life was like.
Right.
Just this nice, ritzy, sheltered, bubble, privileged life where they wouldn't even understand what reality was.
Right.
I don't know if she was saying it was when she worked for like the Post or the Times or when she knew people who worked for them, but it was basically in these, and they would end up with, what do you call it? And they would basically craft like this narrative that this is the American dream, this is the real America. Well, in reality, it wasn't.
Right. Right. And again, it's also the narrative. If you work hard, that's what your future will be. And nothing could be further from the truth in this country. Again, it's all spin.
It's all spin.
Yep.
Sure is.
You know, and no one's ever given nobody in this country has ever given us anything. We've always had to take it. So the notion that any of these people are going to just do the right thing is ridiculous. And this is why you have people who go on strike, because people inherently don't do the right thing. You know, they just don't. They
if
do.
People are if people are inherently good, we wouldn't have any problems in this country.
Right. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And but which is why, back to the Germans, they did it right. You know, they went on strike because they're getting the short end of the stick, and then their union won.
Right. And again, we have to get to that point here. We have to do that.
Right.
Yeah. That's just a no-brainer at this point. You know, I don't know how we get out of it. We don't get out of this by voting. We certainly don't do that. That's just not happening.
No. If that was going to happen, that would have happened long ago.
Yeah. In fact, that voting the way we have been voting is what kind of put us where we are. That whole the lesser of two evils, you know. So we have to get off that bandwagon, and we have to start being activists. And, you know, as Chris Hedges says, every citizen in America needs to make politics his or her avocation now. They have to be knowledgeable. They have to know what's going on, and they have to act on it. And I think he's absolutely right about that.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He is absolutely right because I think there's this old saying where it's like, just because you don't take an interest in politics doesn't mean they won't take an interest in you.
Right. That's very true.
I think even Tom Hartman, I know Tom Hartman's not that likable in our circles, but I think even he made a quote saying, politics is not a spectator sport. Tag, you're it.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. It is not a spectator sport. You know, along those lines too, another great guy from that we lost in 2010 was Howard Zinn. He was another one that was a big believer. You know, he said our problem isn't civil disobedience, it's civil obedience. You know, we're too obedient. And we have to start taking a lead from some of these countries. You know, we should look at it that we're the babies in this, okay? Not that we haven't had our share of strikes. We did during the labor movement. Everything that brought us the New Deal, all of that stuff all came about because of the labor movement. So we've been there before. But I think we have to look at other countries that have been around longer than us and learn from them too. It's not just them learning from us, because we always think we're the greatest and the smartest. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, we're kind of babes in the woods here.
Oh my God. They're playing that they're like on a different level. Yeah. I think Chris Lewis said it best, you know, they're playing like 5-dimensional chess and they're ahead in the game.
Right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, and speaking of those,
I just saw somebody post up there that they love the Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. That'd be one way to start changing the paradigm in America. If we could have people in their cities or towns lobby to get that to be the history book for all middle and high school students. Stop teaching revisionist history.
Right. And speaking of people who have benefited from, forcing revisionist history down our throats, Coca-Cola and Nestle, no surprise here, privatized the largest reserve of water in South America.
Yep, Nestle, the people who are now selling clean water to the people in Flint, right?
Oh, God, it's everywhere.
Yeah, so now apparently clean water is not a right either. It is something that's a commodity now. So everything's being corporatized. That's really what this is indicative of, you know. And I read this article. Did you read this one?
Which one?
The one about the Coca-Cola and Nestle. I read that, and it's, again, more about having some kind of control in that country and going after natural resources as opposed to helping anybody.
Right.
There's something there that benefits those corporations, and it's called money, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't even have to read it. I'm just like, the minute I saw the headline, I'm like, oh, God, here we go again. Here we go again. And these are one of the companies we're supposed to protest. Okay, if we keep giving these people money, we're not doing anything.
Right.
You know,
Right.
then we're helping. Then we're helping them out.
Right. And I just saw a comment from somebody about the water wars, and you know what? That's not so far off. It's like we're getting close to the end of the oil battle. So now what are we going to be fighting over? They're trying to control our food supply. And speaking of which, that's something else that Bill Gates is involved in. They're trying to control the food supply. If we have to fight for food and water, that'll be really ugly. That will be very ugly.
Oh, yes.
You know, and it's all about money, and that's all it's about. You know?
It's all about money. Yeah, you know, I mean, we're just at the point where it's like when I think about Flint, I'm just like, you know what? It's time for the pitchforks and the Molotov cocktails, folks.
Yeah, and you know, and here's something that somebody pointed out to me. I have this guy that follows my group, and he's an old union guy, right? And he's a really good guy. And he said that when there used to be a Saturn plant in that part of the country in Flint, and they complained about the fact that the water was corroding the insides of the engine parts. They got their water fixed. How's that? Their water was fixed, but the people's water was not.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
They were corroding the inside of the engines.
Right. They were complaining.
Somehow that got fixed.
Yeah, that got fixed. They took care of that water problem for them. But they can't take care of the people even after Obama and Clinton and everybody else went in there. What did Obama actually do for those people? Remember the whole "we got your back" thing? Remember that? We got your back. You know what? These people are such liars, because if we can do the stuff we do, we can have a military parade. We can invade every country without any question about where the money's coming from. They could take care of Flint very quickly. They really could. And if all these philanthropists wanted to really help people out, the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffetts, all these guys, they could take care of Flint really quickly. The problem is there's nothing for them to gain. There's nothing for them to gain by there.
Right.
You know, there's nothing.
That'd be the ultimate PR. You're the person who saved Flint.
That's right. Right. And somebody just posted that Governor Snyder should be in jail. Absolutely. No question about it.
They all should be in jail. Not just Snyder. Snyder, okay, yes, he should, but that entire city council should be in jail.
Definitely.
They all should, like every political official from the state of Michigan should be in jail.
Yeah. There's like they said, there's always plenty of money for everything. The stuff that there's not enough money for is the stuff they don't have the political will for, because there's nothing to gain, right? There's no monetary gain. The people in Flint are basically poor people, and there is absolutely no use to those people, no use for those people in their minds. And I'm sorry, but that sounds harsh, but that's actually the way the government looks at us, you know?
I mean, like to quote Karina Barefoot Petrie, someone who has done a lot of good activism in Flint, she straight up said, you know what, this is biological warfare.
Yep.
The people are there suffering from biological warfare.
Yep.
But to tie this all back in, you know, she also said what's happening in Flint is ground zero. What's happening in Flint's going to happen in everywhere.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happening in South America now.
Yep. It is. And there's already they're saying, I've read the articles, I have them all saved, they haven't gotten to them all. There's already cities where the water is worse than it is in Flint. There's already cities in America where that's the case. And the people just don't know it because they're not being told. So
I don't even know what to, it's like history repeats itself and no one cares.
Right.
Oh man. And well, that might as well be. Well, of course, no one cares, because let's face it. This next when I read this next headline, I just shrugged my shoulders too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, thanks for admitting the truth. Do you want to read it, or shall I read it?
I don't care. You read it. I read the last one.
All right. The FBI is setting up a task force to monitor social media. I thought they were already doing that.
Me too. Me too.
I didn't even know it was official.
You know what?
Well,
when you have the NSA and they already have your texts, right? Your voicemail messages. They know where you spend your money, what you take out of the library, what your medical records are. You know what? So what if they're going to monitor us on social media? They're already banning us on social media.
I know. They censor us left and right. Look how long it took for us to have a decent freaking show today.
I know.
Look at that. Like the first 3 questions, it's all like that. It's like, oh, everywhere. Yeah. Hell, the NSA is at the point. You see this phone? Like, yes, I know. I'm using. I show. But you see this little lens right here?
Yeah.
That's where they're spying on you from.
They are.
Hell, even the cameras we're using for this damn interview.
Right. You got a smart.
Yeah, they're spying on us. So the cameras, the microphones. Hell, they're monitoring us with like freaking microwaves and TVs.
Yeah.
It's like, so we're supposed to be surprised at this?
So now the question is this more nefarious than what they're doing now, though? That's the question. Are they actively going to look to not just shut us down, but are they looking to actually go after people now?
Boy.
I mean, you got to think about, what would be the next logical step for these people? Aren't they already monitoring us, watching us?
Right.
Or the Russian thing? Or are they now trying to pinpoint people who are dissenters? That would be.
Damn. Well, there's going to be a lot. I mean, I kind of feel safe in that regard because, I mean, I think your following's bigger than mine. So I feel like we're safe in that regard, that we're not like at the high level. But man, if they start going after even some of these right-wing dissenters like Milo and Alex Jones, like if you see them in handcuffs, chances are it's going to happen to us too.
Yep. You gotta wonder if what they're doing is not, looking to prevent more people that speak out.
Of course.
At some point it's gonna get to that, and they're not just gonna stop with looking at us or storing our records in the cloud or whatever. At some point, a lot of us are not going to like what's going on here. And there's going to have to be, at some point, some kind of a control mechanism for these people. And the best way to find those people now would be social media, because it's so popular and so populated. So who knows?
Absolutely. That's the thing. Like, how do you combat this? Like, that's the thing. Like, how do you combat this? Do you create more sock accounts? Do you just like beat their algorithms? Like, I mean, besides doing that, I don't really know how else you go after this.
It's funny because when we started this discussion of we have to get off Facebook, I was one of the biggest proponents of that. Okay.
Right.
So now I'm trying to organize, and I'm looking at Facebook, and now I'm everywhere. So now, because I started trying to get people off, they either split between Minds or MeWe. So now I'm everywhere. I'm in Minds, MeWe. I'm on Gab. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. But I can't walk away from Facebook with 5,000 contacts and 5 groups.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to have to stay where I am, and try to work around it. But I don't know how you combat it, because we don't have the bodies and the technical logistics to combat what they're doing. He's got 10,000 people already trolling. He's adding 10,000 people before the end of the year. They're going to have 20,000 people on Facebook alone monitoring what we're doing.
Yeah. And I notice it when they'll like send some random bots that try to like troll my pages and stuff. And I was like, God.
We froze again.
Everyone's going to follow the way Facebook was. Like how it happened with Facebook. Because the thing is now with this movement, we're all like 8 or 9 different social media platforms, I think, like me, we, Minds, or whatever.
Right.
But the thing is, how many of them are going to be like, how many they're going to be concentrated on those said sites? Are we going to have, the people, or is it just going to be like our social circles and that's it?
Right. I don't know. I mean, I think people will move away from Facebook when they feel comfortable with those other sites. I think even for me, I don't chat, I don't do that much back and forth typing on those sites like I do when I'm on Facebook. Right. So I think when I've been on it more and more, I'm making myself do it every day. So I'm starting to get used to that. And I'm certainly at least starting to post the most important stuff on all of those sites. So it takes up a lot of time, but I really think it's something that needs to be done because I don't know any other way to combat it right now.
Well, and plus people like listening to Deb, Della, Piana say what everyone else is thinking. So that, that's also another thing. Harshnet, I don't know, but people love Deb.
Yeah, well, I'm working on it.
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to do outside of like I said, beating the algorithms and creating more accounts.
Right. Yeah, I've got a couple.
That's basically where I'm at. Like, I won't say how many Facebook accounts I have, but I'll give you a hint. It's probably more than 3 at this point.
Yep.
So, that's basically where we're at. I mean, I don't know. Like, how do we even deal with the whole FBI thing? Like, is this even a story? Or is this just more like, hey, we already knew this?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the FBI part is a story. I also don't know if, who knows if they're really actually going to do that. You know what I mean? Like that could just be more fake fodder out there. Who knows? I mean, they're certainly already monitoring us. There's no question about that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I type responses and I get something like that's spam, and I go, actually, it's not spam.
Exactly. Oh man, if I had $1 for every time that happened to me, like if I posted stuff about like WikiLeaks on JB Pritzker's page on how he's like involved with the Clintons, man, they will mark that up as spam right away.
Yep. They do that to me too. It's so annoying.
Oh God, I don't even like. Oh man, just.
But I do think, I think a show like this is great because I'm not sure in the course of a week with everything going on that people see all of this stuff.
No, they don't see it.
And then they don't get to, because they're so busy, that's like they don't get to process much of it either. So the more that we can do this, I think the better it is. I mean, there's stories that certainly some people are never going to see. In their daily lives, just because they're not exposed to the kinds of things that we are. They're certainly not going to see this in the New York Times or in the Boston. So we have to do something.
We do. And we have to be our own media at this point. We have to create our own content and be our own media because no one else is going to do it.
That's right.
And that's why people like you have to keep doing what you're doing. And, the people watching here have to keep watching people like you. Otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
That's what it is. I mean,
that's our 10. So what do you think we should do now?
I don't know. I was going to go for a beer.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Oh, we got somebody asking the city and state we're from. I'm from Stoneham, Mass, right outside of Boston.
All right. I was from Chicago, Illinois. Now I'm out in the western suburbs. So,
yeah. So it's Boston's a pretty active city. There's a lot of little stuff going on here in the course of a day.
Oh yeah.
But
it is.
We have a pretty psychotic political construction in this state. I don't know about anybody else, but
almost as psychotic as Illinois. Actually, I can't say Illinois is psychotic. It's more criminal.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we're in Boston. We have like a Republican governor, and then all of the legislature is Democratic. It's the weirdest thing. And
it's like Illinois. It's like Illinois. Somehow Bruce Rauner was able to beat the Democratic machine, and yet we still have a Democratic legislators. We have we still have the Madigans. We still have the Della. All these people, like
Yeah.
Rahm Emanuel, all of them. They're still there. They still control the state.
Right. And we have this guy Marty Walsh, who's our mayor, and that's the famous Marty Walsh that allowed Bill Clinton to go to the voting locations with a megaphone in violation of campaign finance laws, and campaign for his wife on the day of the primary elections. So, we have corruption. There's corruption everywhere in this country, and it's again, you look at the FBI. You look at the CIA, you look at the Department of Justice, and going all the way back, we need somebody. They need to stop investigating, and someone needs to investigate them.
Exactly.
Because it's a systemic problem, and it's not going to go away unless we get mad enough to make it go away. They're not going to clean it up themselves. I can tell you that. So
absolutely not. That's what it is. It's all a cesspool.
Right. And 90% of these headlines are all coming about because of corruption at some level of our government.
Exactly. They get paid a lot of money to turn a blind eye, and and that's what you have.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
So we need a bunch of people. We need people to become ungovernable is what we need.
Yeah, that we do.
So what are we going to ask?
Where do we go from here? Like, what do you think will happen in the next few weeks?
I don't know. I mean, I think in the next few weeks, I was reading an article by one of the former CIA guys, and he was saying that where this whole dossier and all of this stuff goes from here will be based on the media. Well, if that's the case, because again, his point was, and he's right, it was the relentlessness of the media that made Watergate happen, right? So if we're going to rely on our media to help us clean this up, we might as well forget that, because they're not helping. They're aiding and abetting. Yes, it was Ray McGovern, Deborah Armstrong. That's who it was. I just, if the dictation, if what's going to happen is going to be dictated to by how much it appears in the media, then we had better be prepared to keep this stuff alive, because that's what's going to have to happen. Yeah. It's going to have to be us keeping it alive somehow.
Oh, yes.
Right? So, because I can tell you right now, it's not going to get any coverage in the mainstream media. None of it. They're going to hide it.
Of course it won't. That's why we need as many independent media sources out there as possible.
Right. Because the only thing that they're going to cover in the mainstream media is going to be relative to Donald Trump, because that's the MO. That's the plan.
Right. So. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, this has been fun.
It has.
This has been a fun day, Deborah. We have to do this again.
Yep. And I will, you know me, I'm always looking at stuff all week long. I'll keep little notes of what I see in case we have some holes in the program next go around.
Of course. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Or I just stay on this page instead of another page. Either way, whatever.
Right.
But all right, Deborah. The pleasure's been all mine today.
Thank you, my friend.
Fun show for sure. I think if we see this, maybe we show this to Tony Smith. He's going to get too excited. They're like, oh, my two favorite people. I'm like, yep, that's why we're here.
Here we go. All right, so we will do this again.
Most definitely next Saturday, I think. Hopefully the internet will be better from start to finish.
All right, we hope so.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, then. hope you all. Well, Deborah's amazing as usual. I hope you all enjoyed the broadcast. And we all know you love Greene Fyre. I know I do. And Deborah. Oh. This is Harsh Med. And this is Harsh Med signing out. Reminding you all, to keep following the Greene Fyre Review and people like Deborah. People like Della Piana. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend. And feel free to follow our pages. Take care, everybody.